In 2008, 19-year-old college student Brendan Swenson was driving home after a night out when he crashed into a ditch on a gravel road in the middle of fucking nowhere, Minnesota. He knew as well as us that this was a classic horror movie setup, so he called his parents and asked for a ride. Because of the whole Bunisset night thing, Swanson's parents had trouble finding him. When they couldn't find his car at the location he provided, they got back on the phone for over 45 minutes to play the world's worst game of Marco Polo. Swanson claimed he could see lights from a nearby town and was heading in a direction, but things took a turn for a treaty when he suddenly yelled, "Oh shit." Before his father could even scold his son for using such filthy language, the car caught up, and that's the last anyone had ever heard from Swanson. Hundreds of volunteers, 34 dogs, and 120 days later only his car was found. So what the hell happened to him? There was no evidence of foul play or any suggestion that Swanson wanted to disappear. Phone records showed that he was wrong about his location. When he made his last call, he was about 20 miles away from the town he claimed to be walking towards. The likeliest explanation is that he fell into a nearby river, but the search came up empty, and in the 2 days following his disappearance, all calls to his cell phone rang. If he did stumble into the river, he didn't take his phone with him. Needless to say, "Oh shit" are not the last words you want to hear from a loved one before they disappear forever without explanation. If this was a found footage film, we'd get a blurry conclusion featuring a psychobilly chainsaw killer or a monster not worth the hype. But in real life, people don't actually tip their camera when they are scared, and we may never know what was "oh shit" worth. They said this was only 6 years ago and cried, which is a shitload of people. If anybody out there knows what happened to him, or hell if Brandon himself is hearing this, how in the 1970s, Bashar Khouchaji left his native Lebanon and opened a successful Moroccan restaurant in Washington, D.C. He was living the American dream, but in 1983 he came, became the target of an insane non-stop stream of threatening phone calls that came several times a day, every day. In most harassment campaigns, I chose that one and moved on to something else. But Pujaji would put up these calls for over fucking 9 years. The caller earned the nickname La Fong, which meant which we believe Swedish for the child, because the caller eventually decided that he wasn't being creepy enough and mimicked the little girl. Anyone associated with Pujaji was a target, from his pregnant spouse to his restaurant employees, and the abuse got physical when the star David was scratched all over Pujaji's Mercedes. Although we are glad to know that constant harassment didn't stop him from making serious chatter, there didn't seem to be any escape, and Pujaji traveled to Philadelphia to visit his sister. The calls kept coming here. Things got so bad he suffered a mental breakdown and committed himself to the psychiatric ward. But the calls continued to his restaurant, which we are guessing had pretty high turnover rate. The FBI eventually put a trace on the phone to confirm that the phone wasn't an insane delusion, but it was even worse than that. The calls were coming from different payphones such a frequency that it would have been impossible for only one person to be involved. The phone, the unfound was a plot orchestrated by multiple people for the express purpose for driving Pujaji insane. So the obvious question is, dear God, why? The best guess is that the campaign was related to another strange event in the rabbit hole of weirdness that Pujaji's life. In 1974, he was abducted in Beirut and tortured for 5 days. He managed to escape by attempting suicide, prompting his apparently bipolar kidnappers to take him to the hospital for treatment, where he got help and escaped. Pujaji speculated that his captors were a Rouge faction of the Palestine Liberation Organization who mistook him for a CIA agent. And while that sounds a little ridiculous, no one has any better ideas. His mysterious kidnappers decided to follow him all the way to America and spent a decade harassing him for violating the secret oath, a kidnapper hostage trust. We may never know because the calls finally started dying down in mid-90s, and the FBI basically shrugged and said a bunch was ghosts before closing the investigation. Maybe the unfound just can't find a payphone anymore. In 1970, 25-year-old Donna Lice worked as a nurse at the first aid station of a casino in South Lake Tahoe, California, where her duties presumably included treating gamblers who had their hands smashed by Robert De Niro. One day, Les Boss and Landlord both received calls from an unidentified man who claimed she was dealing with an illness in the family and would be out of town for a while. Les Boss became suspicious and contacted Les' mother, who confirmed that the story was bullshit. Les car was found parked outside her apartment, but there was no trace of her anywhere. The last sign of her was an entry she made on the logbook near the end of her final shift. The entry looked unfinished, as if someone had interrupted her. No one could figure out Les' whereabouts or the identity of the caller until the San Francisco Chronicle received a mysterious postcard 6 months later. It was addressed to reporter Paul Avery, and if that name sounds familiar, it might be because a drunken Robert Downey Jr. played him in David Fincher movie about this guy. The postcard was the latest in a long or cryptic messages from the Zodiac Killer, one of the most infamous identified killers of all time. The killer made no direct references to Les, but hinted that he had murdered and buried his 12 victims in Lake Tahoe. Since Les' body hadn't been found, it wasn't hard to investigate for investigators to make a connection. The postcard provided a lot of tantalizing clues about Les' possible location, but a search of the area turned up a whole lot of nothing. To further complicate matters, Zodiac was known for screwing with the authorities. He claimed to have killed thousands of people, but obviously he has only 5 murders and 2 more attempts on his resume. Furthermore, Les doesn't fit Zodiac's profile, since he doesn't known for hiding bodies. But that leaves a huge mystery about a vanished nurse and an unidentified man who tried to hide her disappearance. It's possible some other psycho just got very lucky. If you want to get away with murder, having a famous serial killer take a credit for your crime sure helps. In 1931, there lived a man named William Wallace, who was the polar opposite of the guy from Great Farm. Instead of giving inspirational speeches to lead Scotsmen into battle, this Wallace worked as London insurance agent and spent his free time leading chess pieces into battle. One night Wallace showed up for a chess club meeting and found a telephone message waiting. The message was from R.M. Calthorpe, which could only be more fake if it was P.S. Udonan. This Calthorpe wanted to meet at 7:30 the following night so he could purchase a policy. Since phone messages left at cafes were apparently the 1930s equivalent of Craigslist, Wallace hoped on a streetcar the next night and traveled across town. He discovered that the address Calthorpe provided didn't exist, so he headed back home, probably convinced that he was a victim of a dumb crime by the 1930s equivalent of 4chan. But when he got home, he found his wife's body. Julia Wallace had been beaten to death, and the mysterious R.M. Calthorpe was the obvious suspect. After the investigation, police revealed they determined Calthorpe's true identity. It was William Wallace. Jenkins' authority argued that Wallace had left a message to fabricate an alibi, murdered his wife, hopped on a streetcar, digged around for an hour, then went home to discover his wife's body. Wallace was put on trial, found guilty, and sentenced to hang. Mystery solved, right? Not quite. In order for Wallace to have committed the crime, he also had to be the Flash. For starters, the employer who took the call from Calthorpe was pretty certain it wasn't Wallace's voice. There was blood mobiles worth of blood at the murder scene, but not a single trace was found on Wallace. A delivery boy also spoke to the victim about 4 minutes before her husband's streetcar landed. So a frail 52-year-old man had to beat his wife to death, dispose of the weapon, clean himself, and sprint several blocks in the span of a Katy Perry song. It seems the police decided to pin the murder on Wallace to avoid doing any real work, and the equally lazy jury went along with it because it was keeping them from their cucumber sandwiches. Thankfully, the Court of Criminal Appeal wasn't staffed by incompetent assholes, and they immediately overturned the bullshit conviction. Calthorpe was never identified, but the prime suspect was a former employee of Wallace's insurance firm, who allegedly asked his wife to provide him with a fake alibi, and was seen wearing bloody gloves and closing down his car on the night of the murder, which some might call suspicious. Whatever happened if a prank caller can lure a man out of his home, murder his wife, and get a guy wrongfully convicted? Being asked if your refrigerator is running suddenly doesn't seem so bad. In 1965, a woman named Judith Helms disappeared from her hometown of Coral Gables, Florida. Everyone feared the worst when she abandoned her car. Her abandoned car was found in Atlanta with blood in the back seat. Helms was pregnant and a recent divorcee, and the 1960s didn't exactly have the most progressive attitude towards unhitched women with the nerve to spawn children. Helms allegedly made an arrangement to get an illegal abortion from a Hungarian doctor named George Hatchel, who had about as much credibility as Dr. Nick Hatchel was charged with conspiring to perform the abortion, but skipped bail and fled the country. And then everyone kind of just forgot about the case for a quarter century until it was rejuvenated by a series of bizarre phone calls. In 1990, Captain Chuck Sherrill of the Coral Gables Police received message from an Omaha, Nebraska radio host claiming he had information about Ham's disappearance. Sherrill called the host back but was treated to a big fat pound. The host said he never made the call and knew precisely did all about Hams. Apparently someone decided to inquire about a forgotten 25-year-old case by impersonating a radio host from different states. Sherrill soon received another anonymous call claiming that Hayes was alive in Omaha. Now Captain Sherrill knew nothing about the case, but he had recently traveled to Omaha to deliver a lecture at a police academy. Was this an elaborate attempt at a prank? Maybe, but keep in mind in 1990 the internet mostly consisted of people exchanging Star Trek erotica. It would be an awful lot of work for someone in Nebraska to obtain information about an obscure Florida protest just to amuse themselves. Scherer got a third anonymous call from someone who claimed to be an FBI informant who had recently spent time with Dr. Haju in Hungary. They even provided an old phone number for Haju that checked out. The confused Scherer did what any police officers would do with a baffling case, took the story to Unsolved Mysteries. Days after Ham's episode was broadcast, Scherer got an anonymous letter confirming that many people suspected all along Hams died during an illegal abortion and wound up in watery grave. While that's a logical solution, it doesn't account for all strange calls. The anonymous letters aren't exactly legally binding. The callers and writers have been identified. The shady doctor hasn't been found, and Ham's body was never recovered. For all we know, the Zodiac killer took a road trip. Sometime after 10 a.m. on a routine workday, an Oxnard, California switchboard operator received a call from a whispering woman who dropped a bombshell. The President of the United States was going to die in 10 minutes. That time passed without incident, but the woman still on the phone doubled down. The President is going to die at 10:30. She continued to babble away with cryptic statements like, "The Supreme Court, there's going to be fire in all the windows, and the government takes over everything lock, stock, and barrel," before the call finally disconnected at 10:25. Naturally, the call was written off as a rambling of a crazy person. As anyone with an internet connection knows, the president gets nonsensical death threats with multiple times a day, and the president wasn't even in the state of California, so there wasn't much cause for alarm. The operator probably had a nervous laugh and would have shared the story on Not Always Right had it existed at the time, but it didn't, because the call was on November 22nd, 1963, and she hopefully knows something historic happened that day, at exactly that time. While the call was taking place, President Kennedy was traveling in a motorcade toward Dallas Dealey Plaza, where Harvey Oswald would express his disapproval of the administration with extreme prejudice. The exact same time of Kennedy's death, well, in California it was 10:30. The woman prediction was right on the money. Now, let's get to the spooky part. Kennedy was scheduled to arrive in the plaza before 10:30, but the motorcade ran late because the president kept stopping to shake hands with onlookers and presumably hit on women. Halfway through the call, the operators thought they heard the woman put down the phone and dial another number. And when they asked if she needed help, she responded, "No, I'm using the phone." It was after this that she bumped the time up the president's death from 10:10 to 10:30. Did she somehow know that Kennedy was behind schedule? Conspiracy theorists speculate that the anonymous caller was actress Taryn China, who was found dead in her West Hollywood home 6 days after the assassination. China allegedly had advanced knowledge of Kennedy's murder because her father was friends with Jack Ruby, the guy who shot Oswald while he was in custody, ostensibly to silence him. The conspiracy goes. It's tenuous connection, but Capsinet's suspicious death is a bizarre unsolved mystery on its own, right? Unfortunately, the origins of all the call were never determined. Sure, it was probably just a rambling crazy person who made a lucky guess. After all, her prediction of the Supreme Court catching fire didn't come to pass, nor did her fears of government takeover, unless you ask the public. But at the very least, it's a prime example of why every anonymous tip, no matter how loony, should be considered sometimes. The craziest are right.